Hey Cancer, Ali from Indigo Ascension. Welcome to your Eclipse series reading, Ecliptical Transition series reading. I wanted to do these for all of the Zodiacs because I feel it will help many out there understand this holding space energy that many of us feel like we are in. Now, if you've been following my readings on the channel, if you've been following my Facebook and my Instagram, you know, 2020 was certainly a massive crossroads year. But I wanted to focus on the ecliptical series, okay? The ecliptical cycles we are all in because, you know, retrograde planets are important, yes, but eclipses help us really eclipse old realities, old versions of self to introduce new ones. We could do this at a snail's pace because slow and steady wins the race. Many of us are familiar with that one step forward, two steps back kind of cha-cha that happens when it comes to major changes in self and in life. Which can ultimately help us understand why sometimes we feel like this inner pent-up frustration. Can also help us understand why realities suddenly drop out of our life, okay? Whether that could be career realities, relationships, or suddenly waking up one day and just feeling different, okay? Because deeper planetary retrogrades and these eclipses, they span a long time, 6 months even, 2-year cycles. Change doesn't happen just like that. It's a slow and steady building up, okay? And being aware that that's happening can always help us empoweredly work with it in the moment. Now, so for each of the Zodiacs, I wanted to focus on the houses that you were eclipsing. Because last year was a crossroads year in many ways, we were working with that old ecliptical energy closing off. We were introducing a new one, but doesn't mean everyone sort of jumped on that boat and was bam straight into the Gemini Sagittarius stuff. And at the end of this year, we have our first eclipse in Taurus, which closes off our current ecliptical cycle. So I just wanted to show you how everyone sort of works with this energy in very slow and methodical ways, or sometimes very fast ways. It depends on where we're sort of at. You know, it is always there and available for us to work in the higher octaves, okay? So rewind back to the end of 2017. Many Cancerians would have experienced a challenging year or a deeply transformative year. Major changes may have happened in your life in one way or another. And then we saw the activation of you guys leading the North Node. Now, 2017 could have been a deep, harrowing year. It could have had a lot of sort of 12th house energy themes as far as really dark experiences or really needing to get out of the dark or confusion or uncertainty before you led the North Node, as far as it being in your first house, Cancer. So, you know, first house energy is all about self. There was a massive focus on self, perhaps after having to retract and go, you know what, enough with everyone else. It depends on what our roles are and what's going on. You know, it's time to focus on me. For many Cancerians, you would have noticed significant shifts in your life, in your reality, that gave you an opportunity to create strong new foundations for self as we kicked off 2018 after, like I said, a challenging 2017. And I'll say it 1,000 times, before we kick off the North Node, that year prior will always be a highly prosperous one. So where did you experience prosperity in 2017? You might say, Ali, God, it was just completely earth. There was nothing prosperous about it. It was so challenging. Yeah, that makes sense too, because before we lead the North Node, destiny is at play when we're leading the North Node, and then sometimes destiny needs to clear the reality because it is not meant to be part of our destiny. So maybe you notice massive shifts in key life circumstances and changes. 2017 was a massive awakening year for the collective as far as intense amount of solar codes, closing off that last solar cycle too, all right? So in that preparation to lead the North Node, Cancer, and you know, you guys are all about nurture. It would have been like, where am I not nurturing myself? Where do I need to nurture self? Because you were about to kick off the North Node for the collective, and you were there to teach them about the mother energy, the nurture energy, and so you had to sort of master it for self, and maybe life was reflecting back to you how you were not, okay? Where you needed to draw boundaries strongly in the sand. So fast forward to 2018 into 2020. Look back, here we are in February 2021. Look back and see how you've built for self. This first house energy is all about you creating new realities for yourself. Look at that, the sun jumping out. Finally receiving nurture, finally mastering nurture, identifying what you needed for self to embrace that number one leadership energy, which is all about, which is what the first house energy is about. It's about yourself, your reality, your life, where you want to take this thing. Interestingly, you were also activating 7th house energies because Capricorn, and in eclipses, okay, Capricorn is always, Capricorn sits opposite the zodiac, you know, so whenever we're working with first house energies, we're subsequently always working with 7th house energies, and that's your descendant, that's opposite you on the zodiac, that is your partner, your shadow self, take it however it resonates. So in the years between 2018 into 2020, you could very well have been achieving massive changes in your identity, your life, but yet subsequently doing this shadow work, okay? Maybe like for Cancerians that were deeply working with shadow stuff, you could have noticed that 2017 into 2020 were deeply transformative years. It wasn't easy. But I'm going to say you would be feeling a lightness in many ways, that's for sure, okay? So, or at least a stronger connection to your higher self, or that destiny was at play, something else was guiding you entirely, and that as much as back in the thick of things you wouldn't have listened to someone like me saying, hey, everything happens for a reason, you would perhaps be more empowered at this point in the timeline to be able to look back on those years between 2017 to 2020 and see how they truly have mastered something within you as far as who you are today, okay? So for 2 years there was this massive focus on you guys leading the North Node, okay, and Capricorn leading the South Node, and there was this massive divine feminine, divine masculine theme that was being presented to the collective. There were massive themes about, as Cancer and Capricorn led the ecliptical cycle for that 2-year period in 2018 to 2020, themes of nurture, back to motherhood, looking at motherhood, how do I mother my dreams, mother myself, nurture myself. Capricorn being the father of the zodiac, we're working with masculine energies, which is all about drive and determination and creating for self new foundations, new realities. Working with that Capricorn energy is that studious perseverance towards the top of the mountain. Regardless, you would have had this energy bubbling within you, knowing that everything was happening for a purpose, Cancer. Okay, so in many ways you would have perfected or at least mastered what the shadow self was trying to teach you. All the way through to last July was your final eclipse, and you closed off a cycle. You closed off your 1st and 7th house transit, which aren't easy. It's about me versus we. It's about learning through the mirror. What has life taught me? What is life reflecting back to me that is ultimately a truth for me? Okay? Or is a truth I've created at some point? Otherwise, why is that being reflected in the mirror, in my reality? And then, as soon as Gemini activated, the North Node, okay, from last year, because that's the current transit we are in. As soon as Gemini activated the North Node, you immediately slipped into 12th house energies, which is working with the subconscious. Subsequently, on the opposite end of the table, you were working with 6th house energies, thanks to Sagittarius leading the South Node. So since the middle of 2020 into the end of this year, you'll be working with both 12th and 6th house energies. Now, this is not easy, but it is ultimately about being led by your subconscious. So whatever that has meant for you, you would have noticed that destiny was at play. Everything was sort of leading you to last year, and whatever sort of formulated in your life, maybe it's connected to relationships, maybe it's connected to your identity and self, because that's certainly where you're moving towards. This stronger partnership with your subconscious, with your higher self. Really looking, Cancer, at the patterning, the behaviors, the beliefs that are all a very big part of your shadow self and your own undoing, because we're working with these energies, okay, since the end of 2017. Doesn't matter if Cancer and Capricorn are no longer leading the ecliptical cycle, we're still permeating that energy in many ways, even if we've launched a new ecliptical cycle thanks to Gemini and Sagittarius. All right, so it's happening concurrently. You're still closing off me versus we, my views on partnership, what kind of partner I'm looking for, the new version of me, the new reality I'm trying to create in my life, this one step forward, two steps back kind of cha-cha. And you might have tried to kick off a new chapter in your work life, your business life, your personal life, and then notice that you've retracted back again to sort of review deeper shadow themes and making sure I've truly eclipsed stuff that I really don't want influencing those aspects of self. I want a strong sense of identity and who I am. I want a strong sense of knowing of what my shadow self really looks like, my partner really looks like, because it is your partner. It falls in marriage. The 7th house rules marriage and partnerships, all partnerships though. So this is always going to be, when I'm activating 1st and 7th, it's always going to be about me versus we and how I effectively partner. Where does imbalance happen? Where does nurture need to step in? Am I still going to nurture old ways? Yeah, Cancer. Okay, maybe you noticed a massive shift in the type of partners you draw into your life, the partners you will no longer draw into your life. Maybe you notice massive changes as far as your identity and how that defines who you are moving forward. You are currently still in this 12th house, 6th house energies thanks to Gemini, Sagittarius. This is about deeply working with the subconscious. This is about deeply being guided by that ever-presence, okay, in all moments, about is this my own undoing? Am I unconscious to patterning, or am I super conscious? And I'm deeply working with the subconscious then. Like I said, you know, as I've said many times, you know, modern day science tell us the average human uses 10% of their mind. Have we even mastered that? And what of that other 90%? Who's in charge of that? So when we work with 12th house energies, we have an amazing opportunity to really fundamentally put some definitions around that. You know, I can act in unconscious ways and sort of still keep repeating karma, or I can actively work with it. More powerfully still, when I'm working with 12th and 6th house energies, this deep subconscious work, working with the subconscious, I can then ground into my daily reality. That's what the 6th house rules. It rules my day-to-day service work, my day-to-day reality, my workplaces I'm finding myself in, how I'm grounding my higher knowing into the everyday. How does my everyday serve me? You know, if I'm still working with 1st and 7th house themes, what do I want to change about my day-to-day structure that I've already mastered and decided for self when it comes to 1st and 7th house themes? When I'm having these aha moments in partnership with my higher self, how am I grounding that down into the everyday reality that I find myself in? And is this belief serving me? It may have led me in unconscious ways. I may have been unconscious to this a long time ago, but here I am today, connected with my 12th house energies, my higher self. I've identified strong boundaries with 1st and 7th, really looking at myself, really working with the mirror. How am I grounding that down in 6th house energies in the day-to-day? Okay, and then that's what you guys are still doing that this year, okay? And in November this year of 2021, we are going to hand the North Node from Gemini over to Taurus. Okay, so Taurus rules your 11th house, Cancer. Okay, so you'll be activating 11th house themes. 11th house will always be about the role you play. So ever since 2017, whether it's been in your relationships, whether it's been fundamentally connected to your role in society, the work you do, the life you've had, the connections in your life, your patterning, what you've learned from your subconscious, okay, has all served a deeper purpose about fundamentally shifting the role you have played. There's a new role coming about. Maybe many of you become parents. Maybe there are pregnancies. Maybe there's a promotion. Maybe you were single for that whole time, deeply healing, now married, or whatever the case may be. Everyone's journey is going to be different. But there is a beautiful assessment in 12th and 6th house energies this year, which kicked off last year for you to truly ground down the wisdoms of higher knowing in many ways, apply it to your everyday reality so that if there are any issues of imbalance or a lack of nurture, lack of authenticity, lack of true wanting to mother something, okay? When I want to mother something, I want to nurture it. Do I feel that? Do I experience it? Am I shown it? So whether that's a business idea, whether that's a business, whether that's your career path, your study goals, your relationships in your life, there's going to be a fundamental shift this year that sees you taking on a whole new role, or at least letting others know, you know what, this is who I am now. Okay, let's take a look at the cards, my lovely Cancers. What you are coming from, where you are heading. There's a lot of freedom found in this deep catharsis that you've been on in the realms of relationships. Everything has had an interconnected theme, and I'm going to say what you are learning and mastering across 2018 into 2020, probably and most likely in your most intimate relationships. But remembering still these relationships go all the way back to home and hearth, because how we learned how to connect intimately all happened within the very original home we grew up in first, okay? You are now transforming that wisdom and applying it to all connections in your life, especially with 11th house activations happening towards the end of this year. It is the role you play, okay? There's a bigger story at play. There's been a bigger question around freedom, you know, because when I'm working with 1st and 7th house themes, come here, just making sure my dog doesn't bark. We could feel completely not free. We can feel completely restricted by our circumstances. There's a big focus on me rather than why I'm focused on everyone else, or at least the other. You know, I can't ignore my shadow anymore. It's right there. So there's this, where you're coming from is this desire from freedom, this desire for freedom rather, this goal of working towards freedom. And I was going to say, the role you have always played, Cancer, this concept of nurture, where have you not been free? Where have you not felt free? Perhaps for many of you, there was this bigger theme about definitions around ultimately what freedom looks like within connections, within all connections, okay? That would ultimately create new perception shifts for you, new communication, new higher heart chakra activations, okay? When I'm activating higher heart, it is more so not just about the heart chakra, but the throat chakra, and being able to authentically communicate, feeling that freedom in connection in that regard. Where have you felt repressed or not free in connections, and being able to find those that ultimately resonate with you? Because it's all about, I am attracted to those who serve my higher good. So in many ways, from the journey since 2017, there's been a massive review. There was this deeper desire for freedom, okay, especially in the realms of many connections. And, you know, maybe you have found yourself in withdrawal to be able to go through the timeline, to really look at shadow stuff. You guys were working with 1st and 7th house energies. This big theme of freedom and what it means to be free of old paradigms, old realities, old versions of self have been at play for many of you. And again, you're still currently in 12th and 6th house transits. I can't stress it enough. Potent and powerful opportunity, Cancer, to really work with the subconscious, and then ultimately ground that wisdom down into the everyday realities you find yourself in. When you led the North Node with, well, you didn't lead it with Capricorn. When you led the North Node, Cancer, back in 2018 into 2020, there was this slow-moving energy, these themes of commitment, okay, maybe past connections, childhood bonds, children were at play, slow-moving energy around children, themes and patterning, okay, because if it's about freedom, if it's about relationships, interconnectivity of connections that are connected into children, connected back to childhood, or this slow-moving patterning energy, if you like, when it comes to relationships that all stem from patterning that was formed in childhood. That was the purpose of leading the North Node from 2018 into 2020. Okay, so that you could redefine what soul bonds really mean for you, what commitment really means for you, what you will and won't commit to, how you would identify creating security for self based on your beliefs around security since childhood that would have ultimately and fundamentally been shifted and shaped and changed based on the relationships in your life. How we make love is how we make money. So it's not that you were activating money houses per se, but Okay, it all stems from childhood in many ways, and many of you have gone on a deep dive to really look at karmic patterning within roles, the relationship and formations, especially the relationship you play to others, okay, and how that is fundamentally shifting. Like by the time we get to middle of next year, 2022, rewind the clock, Cancer, you are a different person to how you would not have allowed yourself freedom on one level or another, how you did not feel free compared to connections in your life, the circumstances in your life from 2018, 17, 16, okay? And there's been this continual relooping. And the ultimate goal for you guys in many ways, all right, has been about creating tangible provisions for self, rather than feeling ultimately overwhelmed. And when I'm so focused on the needs of all of the relationships in my life other than myself, I am no good to anyone. I'm not able to bring stuff into balance. This was about really firming up something tangible, and maybe many Cancerians did this through a career focus, okay? Because when we can shift, it's not about, because it's slow moving energy. This transformation energy happens over the years, over ecliptical transitions, yeah? Maybe in setting something up for yourself when you activated first house energies in that Cancer leading the North Node ecliptical cycle, there was this focus on provisions for self to help you move away from overwhelming emotions, emotionally overwhelming situations in your life that needed something more than just baby steps. What you were looking for was truth and clarity. What you were looking for, Cancer, between the years of 2018 into 20 is to cut away any BS that did not look like freedom in any of your relationships, okay? This was about the inner conflict you have always felt. This was about aspects of control energies and not feeling victorious, or just this deep desire to move forward, focus on self, because I knew that if I just did that, everything would be okay. But what was required was a massive perception shift, Cancer, okay? Hence the journey back into childhood, hence the journey away from inner conflict, old roles that you've played within connections, okay? And in embracing practical new beginnings and really identifying what this is the Ace of Coins. It sets the seed. It is the seed of the Ten of Coins, okay? What did you want your Ten of Coins to look like in the realms of your dynasty? The dynasty you were building for self. Maybe children were involved. What you would and would not commit to any longer, okay? Again, as we activated Gemini leading the North Node, you began 12th house energies activating within your life. South Node energies with Sagittarius has activated 6th house energies within your life. Maybe you were doing some fundamental practical assessments. This is review mode. Okay, this is options, okay? So there might have been some steady progress in one way, leaps and bounds since 2018 into 2020 as you led the North Node. Where have you fallen back into patterning where you are not feeling free in relationships? What relationships do you still sort of find yourself repeating patterning from the past, okay, in one way or another? Old fears of connection, of slow moving energy, of commitment, of this concept of soul bonds, who, you know, I want to have children with, childhood commitments, commitments to children, connections from childhood. Take it however it resonates. There's definitely another way to do this thing, and in many ways a lot of Cancerians will have found themselves sort of sitting on the fence, perhaps since the beginning of 2021, working, like you have got a lot of Aquarius placements happening, which is activating 8th house energies for you guys, okay? There's still this emphasis on 7th house energies in one way, so you will be pulled back to the past, to that old ecliptical cycle. For a practical assessment though, what did you learn? What did you decide? What do you want moving forward? Because there's a couple of ways to do this thing. That 2 of Wands is a choice. The 7 of Coins is a practical assessment of your reality. And I'm going to say, I feel in many ways, Cancers, you're going to move in another direction before July this year, okay? Because we will begin to then close off the current Gemini Sagittarian ecliptical cycle and move into the Taurus one. Now, I wanted to pull a card to represent, that's what I didn't actually explain. November this year is we activate this Taurus energy, okay? The Taurus ecliptical cycle, the Scorpio ecliptical cycle. There's this focus on you, your career. So again, 8th house is being activated for many Cancers. Depending on what degree you're at, 7th house stuff is being activated. You're currently working with 12th and 6th house. Maybe there are deep transformations happening within your day-to-day life. By following soul, following higher guidance, you can deeply transform and ground this energy into your everyday reality. Maybe you're doing practical assessments and looking at how to shift your daily service role. Okay, practical assessments on health. Okay, there's another way to do this thing, is what I do want to say. This is about the nest egg. This is about building towards a dynasty, the dream that perhaps activated a couple of years ago, is what I do want to say. And if anything in your life, any connections, any sense of, and that could be workplace relationships, friendships, that could be intimate partnerships, family relationships, take it however it resonates. Anything that does not sort of align to what you decided for yourself a couple of years ago may not be a part of the investment. Okay, this is new commitments, this is marriage, this is new contracts, setting for self outside of my role that I've played for everyone else. Okay, and there's also a massive return this year in many ways for Cancers, all right? As the Taurus North Node kicks off, you will be working strongly with 11th house themes and 3rd house themes. It is about creation, communication, connectivity. The role you play will fundamentally shift by the end of this year and for the following 2 years into 2023. Okay, so whatever life looks like now, whether you're not a mother and you become a mother, whether you're single and you become married, you know, it's this fundamental shift. How you see yourself in the day-to-day, what you do in your day-to-day will fundamentally shift. And there's a massive practical opportunity to fundamentally shift your day-to-day, take another alternative route, choose something that feels like freedom, whether it's money, whether it's career, whether it's lifestyle choices, whether it's health choices, whether it's love and relationship. It needs to feel like freedom. Otherwise, you will continually reloop old patterns, okay, and find yourself back at this emotional confusion. I do want to say, because what you desire is truth, cutting away anything that feels overwhelming. The higher octaves of 7 of Cups is many opportunities coming to you. So this desire to gain clarity, mental clarity, a lot of coins on the table, some excitement and drive thanks to the Wands as well. And the 6 of Cups is about maintaining home and hearth connection to self above all else, okay? All right, my lovely Cancers, that was your Ecliptical Transition Series reading. I hope you got something out of that. By all means, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can do so by heading to the description box below. And if you haven't already, please do follow me on Facebook for further information that can benefit empaths, intuitives, and sensitive, and on Instagram, where you'll see the daily quick reads, the weekly quick reads, I should say, for all Zodiacs, but you'll also find them here on YouTube. So please do like, share, subscribe. Take care, Cancer.